Good morning, Flosstube, and welcome to my channel, Sew Me Sarah. I'm Sarah, and this is my channel all about cross-stitching and some other needlework adventures along the way when time has permitted. I'm so happy to be back with you today. It is Friday, the 25th of February. Get the month right. Can you believe that it's going to be March next week? Anyway, Friday the 25th of February 2022, and I'm very happy to have you join me today for another little chat about my stitching. Thank you so much to all of you who let me know where you are watching from in the world. In the last video, it was fun to add to the list. So added to the list that I gave last time, I have viewers in Kuwait and Nuf. I'm so sorry, I know. And I knew when I was talking the last time that that I wanted to include you, but I just couldn't remember if I was going to get it right. But Nuf watches from Kuwait, and has been watching for a long time, so maybe even since the beginning. So it's lovely to have you with us, Nuf. I've also had some of you tell me that you are from Prague. I'm going to look at my list. From Prague, from Finland, from Belgium, from Guatemala. And I've had lots and lots of the US states represented. And in Canada, I have viewers in Nova Scotia, Ontario, Manitoba. I feel like there's somewhere else as well. Alberta. Anyway, all of that is fantastic. And I feel like I should have a map. Maybe I should stitch one and put little crosses everywhere in the world that someone is watching from. That would be fun to see. But it's just a really lovely thing that this technology allows us to connect in ways that we wouldn't otherwise be able to, and share our passion for the little crosses on the fabric. So thank you for joining me wherever you are from. I truly appreciate that you would take time to spend with me here on my channel. Since the last time, we've had more crazy weather. It's not extreme like some of you are experiencing in the world, and for that I am grateful. But we had a snow yesterday morning, woke up to a blanket of snow which disappeared by lunchtime. Last week we had a snow day as well, and then in between it's like really mild again. So yeah, it's very, very peculiar weather. I am ready for spring. I'm ready for some proper blue skies. Although this morning, it's actually quite nice outside, and there is some blue in that sky. I hope it stays that way. I think we all need a little bit of vitamin D and brightness just after some grey months. So that's the weather report for this week. And you will remember that I had my friend coming to stay over our half-term week here. So Di came. I introduced you to Di last summer when I went to visit her with my other quilty friends. And this time Di came to visit us and to stay here. I think she's not used to having a live wire in the house like Charlotte, but she did really well. Di did really well. She managed to put up with all of the shenanigans and noise in our home, and it was so lovely to be able to spend a few days with her. Of course, best laid plans to do a little bit of stitching in the afternoons or evenings when we were at home went to the wall, and we didn't really stitch much. She did help me start the binding on the two charity quilts. So she did one, and she started one and I started the other, but we didn't really get that far. But that's because we had lots of other fun things to do. We were out and about, just pottering, really, having coffee. We visited our friend Judith, who was showing us her home renovations because she's bought a new house and she isn't in yet because she's having lots of work done. So it was good to see Judith and catch up with her. And then we had dinner out, and then one evening I had made dinner in for Judith and Di and my other friend Stephanie and my friend Ruth, who was unfortunately not able to come in the end. But we had a little girls' dinner party at the house, and we just had chat, and I was able to introduce my friends, some of my friends, to each other, those who didn't know each other already. So that was really nice. And it's a blessing to have time like that now with my friends. So I'm very grateful for that. I want to share with you one of the gifts that Di brought with her. She brought me some very pretty little gifts to say thank you for having her, not to diminish the other little gifts in any way, but I want to show you one in particular. And this one was made by her husband, who is a very lovely gentleman. But look, his hobby is wood turning, and since he retired he's been trying to do more, and he made me this plate. Dish. We can't decide if it's a dish, a bowl or a plate, but whatever it is, it's stunning and I love it. It's I don't have the lingo, but it is turned from rippled ash apparently, and it's making it look a little bit darker than it is in real life. Just the light this morning, but isn't it gorgeous? That's maybe better. It's making it look quite dark, but it's not. But isn't it stunning? I feel so honoured to have this in my home. He has been making and practicing and learning, and you know, it's his hobby like we have ours, and it's just so fun to see how he is growing and developing in his skill and craft, and I am so honoured to have a piece of it. And not only that, but look how fabulous it will be to display something with my cross stitch on. I'm thinking this would be lovely for berries or small pin cushions or biscornu perhaps, or even this one, which I've shown you before but I haven't started it yet. It is called Zigwigwi Delight, and I got this from mybobbin.com. Something like that would be beautiful on there. So I will have fun this year, hopefully, stitching something pretty for this to use as a perfectly beautiful handcrafted backdrop for my stitching. So I am very grateful to Di and her husband for this fabulous gift. Maybe I need to talk him into some other woodcrafted items for us cross stitchers. So just before we move on to the stitching, I have one more little piece of news since last time. I won a giveaway myself, and it was on Priscilla and Chelsea's. Hold it like this. It's a PDF, so I've printed it out. I won Snowden Bloom by Stitching with the Housewives from Priscilla and Chelsea's Flosstube a couple of weeks ago. I think it was 2 videos ago. And I wanted to say thank you very much to those of you who contacted me by email and Instagram to let me know and make sure I wouldn't miss out on my winnings. Actually, I normally do watch them on Saturday when they post their videos, but this week, just with the visits over half term and things, I had been delayed, so I hadn't known about it just in time. But it was great to know that you're all out there and rooting to make sure none of us miss our winnings. So I'm delighted to have this little chart, and it's very pretty. It's a little spring snow globe, so it's nice to win. I never thought I would. Their Flosstube is so big and their community is huge, so it was nice that my name tumbled out of the random comment picker. Let's move on to the stitching now. I have 2 fully finished objects, and both are from La Finestra del Tempo. And you'll know this is the year-long sale that I started back in August, and folks can join me. So June was what we were scheduled to stitch last month, so in January we were stitching June, but I didn't get time to fully finish it. I did finish the stitch, just not fully finished it. So I chose a Bonnie and Camille print from Little Ruby, their collection called Little Ruby, and I think it works really beautifully with the strawberries and cherries in this chart. So that is June. I had also started the stitch for July the last time that I was chatting with you. I finished the stitch and I fully finished the piece. And that's a Cori Yoder fabric that I chose there with some bees on. The scale is slightly big, but I did manage to make it so that we can tell from the front that they are bees anyway. And obviously that's picking up the bee theme in amid the sunflowers. Isn't that goose with her shawl gorgeous? So these are June and July for La Finestra del Tempo. And the sale is running on if you want to join in wherever you are. You don't have to stitch the same months as we do. People are doing different things. Just join in if you have the pattern, and I'll put the hashtag across the bottom here so that you can join us on Instagram. So those are my fully finishes. I have no finished stitches other than the July piece, but I have done a little bit more on the square tile motif cross stitch. Remember, this is just me giving it a title. It doesn't actually have one, and this is by, the pattern is by 2x2 Stitch Art on Etsy. I will link it below. I will link everything below. If it can be linked, I will link it for you so that you have that as a reference. I was stitching this as my daily thread piece, and I have just continued that for the last couple of weeks. So it's not very exciting progress to show, but it is progress. I have more borders in, and I did stitch one more of the tiles itself. My stitchy friend Margaret was around earlier this week, and I was able to stitch that little tile while we were chatting and having a cup of coffee. So, you know, it's still moving along. It's not massively progressed, but it is moving along. I haven't been very good recently at remembering to tell you what fabric I'm stitching on and what floss I'm using. So if I don't tell you and you would like to know, please don't hesitate to ask, and I will share that with you. This is an 18 count Ada. Yes, it's an 18 count antique white Ada that I had, and I'm using DMC 3810 to stitch this one. I will try to remember to share that with you, but please do ask if I haven't. I've also made some progress on Rain Rain. This was my unicorn chart. You will know that I was blessed with 2 copies of this from viewers and Instagram contacts, actually through the Common Threaded Stitcher hashtag back in August. I think there were, that was when it last ran, and it's coming up again. I'll tell you at the end more about that. But anyway, this was my unicorn chart. I've now got 2 copies of it, which is wonderful, and I have almost finished. I worked on finishing the flowers. I think I only had the green stems in last time, so I have now stitched the flowers and their stamens, and I worked as more of the umbrella until I ran out of floss. So I have just decided to wait and order the rest of the floss for this in due course. I haven't ordered it yet, but I will, and then I will get back to finishing it. It's only that umbrella that needs filled in. I love the little details on this, like the little metal spokes on the end of the umbrella and the little tip up here. And this is Rain Rain by La Di Da. I have used the Gentle Arts Black Crow, which is recommended for the umbrella and the borders. Everything else I didn't choose the fancy floss for. I used the DMC alternative that is listed on the chart. I didn't think that the pieces were really, the areas that were being stitched were really big enough to make a difference in terms of the variegation, and I had the DMCs in my stash, so I just used those, and I think they are working out rather nicely. So I'm not sure when I'll get back to this to finish it, but once I order the thread and it comes in, then I will do that. Next, I spent a weekend before Di came to visit, and I wanted to spend some time progressing the family patchwork sampler, which was the Modern Folk Embroidery Sal in 2020. I didn't know that it existed in 2020. I was only coming back to cross stitching then, so I didn't start the Sal at the time that everyone else did. But I absolutely love this design, and when I did come across it then I knew I wanted to stitch it. So I had January and February sections stitched, and I last showed you. In fact, I think I might not quite have finished February, but it is finished now, and I have made a start on the March portion over here. So there's not too much more of the March section to stitch, and I'm hoping that another weekend in March will help to finish that and move on into April. Not getting a great, that's a better view of the colour there. This is a DMC thread 3832, and I'm stitching this on a 32 count antique white Murano, and it's a big old piece. But that is the family patchwork sampler by Jacob from Modern Folk Embroidery. When I'm working on this, I absolutely love it and never want to put it down. And then you put it down and the next day you have something else to do, and then it gets left behind. And I think that's the way a lot of us work because we love our projects, we love stitching them, we love the design, we want the outcome, but we just have so many options available to us. But that's all part of the fun. I have one new start. I wanted to stitch something for Easter or spring, and I had a little look in my charts, in my chart stash. I don't have lots, but I had a few, and I decided that I would work on this one, which is Happy Easter by Caterpillar Cross Stitch. There you go. And as you can see from the thread chart, I've changed almost everything. So the only reason that I have changed the threads for this is because I wanted to work with what I had in my stash. I had lots of the similar colours in stash, but not the called for colours. The only called for that I'm actually using is the DMC 725, which is the bright yellow, the main yellow I would say, which is the word happy, and some of the leaves of that daffodil are in yellow. The colour is not, that's a better idea of the colour. So, sorry, this you can see is going to be an egg-shaped design. And I just love the spring happy colours in it, really. I switched out the colours for something similar in each case, so a pale pink is a pale pink, and a medium pink and a darker pink, and a medium green and a darker green, or however that worked. The only one I actually changed the colour with is the DMC 598, which is a blue shade in the original, where the blue is there. I switched it to a lavender lilac shade 209. The colour is so much better when I pull it back, but I wanted you to see the stitches. So that's a nice bright cheery spring print, and I'm hoping that it brings bright cheery spring weather with it. So it's been nice to make a start. We all love our new starts as well. That is it really for my cross stitching this week, or this last couple of weeks. I didn't get as much time as I normally would, but that is perfectly okay because I had a lovely time with my friend and a nice time with Charlotte over her half-term break from school. My plans will be hopefully to continue with La Finestra del Tempo and move on to the August chart, which has got a cozy cuddly koala bear on it. A koala, it's not a bear, sure it's not. I should get these things right. The second release of the Heartfelt Sal from Fat Quarter Shop will be out next Friday. Yes, Friday the 4th of March. So I'm looking forward to doing that. I think it's one of the columns. If you remember, I've stitched the borders, which give you 5, an outer border and 5 columns. So I think each release now, each monthly release is going to be one of the columns. So I'm looking forward to that. And I really want to stitch more of the Gentle Rain, which is a stitch along that I'm doing with Joanita over at Stitchy Things. And please go and watch Joanita. She shows so many fun things all of the time on her videos. And she is making much better progress with her Gentle Rain than I am. So it's worth watching her just to see what might eventually appear on my screen. So I would like to get a little bit more time on the Gentle Rain and get some of the fun elements into the trees. They're little animals and flowers and leaves. And then there's the girl with her beautiful yellow rain mac. So yeah, there are lots of lovely elements of design to be stitched in that one. So those are the main plans that I have, and I'm hoping that I will be able to get to those over the next couple of weeks. Last video I had some shares that I wanted to pass along, and the first one was a copy of the Gentle Rain, which was very kindly being offered to you by Caroline at Clothesline Crafts on Instagram. Caroline had finished her Gentle Sal and she offered through this channel the opportunity for one of you to share her pattern. So I drew a winner for that last night as I was pulling together the plans for this morning's recording, and the winner is Jane Panovich. Jane, I hope that I have pronounced your name correctly, first and last names. My apologies if I haven't, but congratulations, you are the recipient of the share from Caroline at Clothesline Crafts. And if you would be so kind as to contact me either a direct message through Instagram or on the email address in the drop down box below, and pass on your mailing address to me, I will share that with Caroline, who will mail the chart to you. The other share that I have is the Red Bird Sampler by Brenda Gervais, and that is courtesy of Lisa E. Lisa sent this to me and said I could stitch it myself or share it with you. So I'm very tempted to stitch it myself, but I know I've got so much else to do that it would be better if one of you took it and stitched it and gave it the love that it deserves. So I also drew the recipient of the share for this, and the recipient is Stitch Stash. So I'm sure that's not your name, but Stitch, that's challenging. Stitch Stash, if you would like to contact me, again, either a direct message on Instagram or by the email address in the drop down below, then I will gladly get this out to you once I have your address. So thank you all for participating in the shares, and I hope that those of you who receive them will enjoy stitching on them. There hasn't been very much other stitching, as I said, but I did push through the binding, and so this one, which is the Boho Quilt pattern, and you'll see it if you remember from other videos, rather than me trying to show you something that doesn't really show up very well on screen. But you can see anyway that I have lots of binding, lots of beautifully bound edges. So that one is ready to go to Siblings Together. And then the Great Granny Squared quilt is almost ready. There's just this bit. There's about 30 inches on each side of this corner to go, and that one will be finished after I add the label. So the Siblings Together quilting group, which is a Facebook group and Instagram group, do have quilt labels that they can provide. This quilt was quilted for me and for the charity by Kathy at Miss Harriet Sparrow. So I've added Kathy's name to the label. So Kathy and I made this one together. And then the charity fill in the child's name whenever the time comes to for the child to take it home from one of their camps. So that little bit of binding and quilt labeling is my project for tonight. To finally get these finished. I'm sure if you've been watching along, you've been thinking these quilts were never going to get done, but I did used to be a lot more productive with my quilting, but that was before I got back into cross stitching. So you're all to blame, all of your enabling, all of your, yeah, I'm to blame, of course, I am to blame, but the quilts will be ready to go in the post. I hope next week. I am intending to finish the second one's binding tonight, and then they'll be able to be pre-washed and ready for packaging and posting next week. So that's good news. Just wanted to let you know about a couple of things that are coming up in terms of community, and I would like to be better at sharing some of these things with you, even if I'm not participating, just so that you know that they're happening, because I know not all of you follow the same people that I do, and not all of you are on Instagram. So little public service announcements perhaps, but in terms of cross stitching, there are two things happening next month that I just wanted to let you know about, so that if you are interested, you can pop over and have a look. The first up is that Chris at Xrossstitch, that's Chris Xrossstitch here on YouTube. I can't believe that you aren't following him already, but if you aren't, please go and check him out. It is a blessing to watch Chris of a Wednesday morning. He posts on a Tuesday, usually in the US. But by the time that I get to see the video, it's Wednesday morning here in the UK. And it's like having a cup of coffee with a friend and just listening to him. He shows his stitching. Sometimes that's only a little bit, but he always has lots of lovely stories to share as well. So do yourself a favor and go over and watch him if you haven't already. And if you already have, then you'll know what I'm about to say. But if you haven't, Chris is running a SAL starting next month at some stage, and it's going to involve the stitching of a daffodil. And this is related to a story that Chris told last year on his channel. Chris does share stories of his childhood and his upbringing in the South, and the wonderful women who have been part of his upbringing. And so in one of those stories, there was a Miss Mary Wills, who's one of his neighbours, and he told a lovely story about Miss Mary Wills and daffodils. And then one of Chris's viewers stitched a design for him, which he has held on to and is now going to use as a stitch along. So there will be a little bit of community buzz about that next month, and I'm hoping that I will be able to join in. I don't know what size it is or how big it is, but I'm hoping that I will be able to join in too. But you might like to, and you could go over to Chris and keep your eyes peeled for that. The other thing that might interest you if you are on Instagram is that there is going to be another run of #CommonThreadedStitcher. And I hadn't known anything about this until last year. I believe it was August when they did the last run of Common Threaded Stitcher. And in August, it was a photo a day. It was a prompt for a photo a day or a share a day. So a sharing of a photo or some information. So like your favorite stitch or your biggest whip, or, you know, there are lots of different ways of approaching this. But anyway, it was fun to join in with that hashtag, to follow it, to see new people. I did make a number of new Instagram friends through that. And as I said earlier, that is how I came by the rain chart. So two of the folks who had followed Common Threaded Stitcher responded to my post which was for the prompt of what is your unicorn chart. And when I posted that this was my unicorn chart, I had responses from them very kindly offering to send the unicorn chart to me. So it's a fun way to connect and learn more about others and find folks who are stitching similar things to you, or maybe just different things to you, but they, you click with their personality or whatever. So it's another nice community builder, and if you like to link in with the community, then watch out for that. It is hosted by Kia B and a team of other Instagrammers, so you will see some of that coming along, but the hashtag is Common Threaded Stitcher, so hopefully you can see that along the bottom here. And if you're interested, follow the hashtag, and I believe that this is to start on March the 1st, so that would be next Tuesday. So again, keeping your eyes peeled. There's always lots happening in this community, and it's nice to be part of some of that. In the real world, we can't all be part of everything, but it's nice to dip in and out. And don't, if the Common Threaded Stitcher is another month of prompts, I don't know if that's exactly how they're going to run this one, but if it is, don't be overfazed by the idea of having to post every day for 31 days. If you can post twice a week and respond to some of the questions, and maybe you don't have an answer to one of the questions, don't let it worry or stress you. Just join in when you can, where you can. Comment on other people's posts. That's, you don't make community by just watching, but it is enjoyable to sometimes lurk. So if you don't want to put yourself out there, you can also just watch the hashtag and see what's going on. But if you want to make connections, then comment on other people's posts and join in and share your own as well. So it's always lovely, and it's a good way to do it. So that's all for today, folks. There's not a very long video today because I don't have just quite as much to share with you, and I'm also under time pressure to get to work this morning. I hope to be back in another 2 weeks, and I will look forward to joining you again then. Please don't forget, if you are the recipient of a share, please contact me so that we can get those shares off to you and you can enjoy and get a start on stitching them. I'm hoping that there will be a little bit more spring-like weather in the next few weeks, and I just wanted to say that it's very easy for me to say at the end of my videos, stay safe, which was mostly related to COVID when I started to say it, to stay safe and stitch happy. But I know that there are really big things happening in the world, things I can't contemplate. I don't know what it's like to live in the Ukraine with threats of bombing today, tomorrow, invasion. I don't know. And I'm sorry that some of you have to know what that's like. The world is a difficult place every day for many, many people, not just this week because of Ukraine, but always for many, many people. And while we share the good bits and the nice bits here on our Flosstube channels, there is a lot in the world that isn't fun to talk about, that isn't fun to watch. And I just want you to know that my heart feels for those people, and if you are one of them, I really do pray safety for you. I don't know if it's possible, but I pray it for you anyway. So if it's at all possible, folks, stay safe and stitch happy.